Hey gang, it's finally here, our last session with Monk. Looking primarily at enhanced journals, this is going to be a long video because I don't have a tutorial on enhanced journals, so we really decided this needed to double as that. I highly recommend listening at a higher speed, slow down where you need to, and pay attention to the timestamps for things that you might want to skip and come back to later. Thanks everybody for listening to this channel. As always, anything that you see in these videos is usually available on my Patreon. I'd love if you guys can support me and support the channel, but also support Monk. And with that, let's get started. Hey everybody, this is Bailey Wiki, and this hopefully you guys are excited about this episode as much as I am, because this is the third and final installment with Ironmonk. Hey Monk.
Hello.
So you guys
I'm excited.
I know, right? I'm excited. So this is, we're going to talk about enhanced journals here today. And this is one that I've seen pretty amazing stuff. And I think I've seen about 10% of it. So this is really an opportunity for you to teach me. And I purposefully didn't research it. I didn't do anything. I said, I'm just going to show up and let you show me what you've built here, because I'm excited. I'm sure others are too. For those of you who haven't been tuning into the series, there is another 2 parts of this. You can go back and check the show notes. We covered a bunch of Ironmonk's other modules. They're all free to the community. I do link to his Ko-fi and his Patreon as well. If you want to support him, like I do, I encourage you guys to do that. And really, yeah, this is kind of the pièce de résistance. And we're going to see a little bit about what you've got going on here. So just to get everybody situated, we're looking at a marketplace. This is from one of my recent marketplace expansions. It's like a modular market space. And the reason I wanted to pick this, because one, Enhanced Journals does some vendor shop stuff, which I think you're going to show us today. But I also just wanted to show you like how I use your crazy stuff in my map. So that we'll let this serve as our backdrop. Can you do me a favor, Monk, and select one of your tokens there?
Yeah. Help if I was on the token layer.
And double click, once you grab a token, double click any one of those market stalls. See that?
I'm doing all right.
It just changed to bread. Double click it again. Now it's candelabras and now I don't know what that is. It randomly cycles through like 120 different possible vendor stalls. So everything on here is dynamic, and it's really built just as a showcase of what you can do with active tiles to make things just whatever you want.
Really neat. Is that like cycle images, or is that just?
It is. It's cycle images with the wild card, I believe. In fact, you could open up the config at some point and look at it. But yeah, so that was inspired by your work, and thanks for making me able to do cool stuff. So first of all, you're going to walk us through enhanced journals. Is there anything from the other episodes that you feel a burning compulsion to update us on? Because we've gone through a lot of modules.
You mention it. One of the things that I missed last time was with contested roles and requested roles, that there's a little button down in the left-hand corner that if you have it all set up, players and the type of role and the DC, you can press a button and actually save it as a macro and add that to the macro bar. So if you ever need to re-roll that, like, a perception check for your players or something like that, you have it handy. I think a lot of people have been using it more for contested roles, that they'll line it up with their player for like contested deception, which I just scrolled off the screen, deception, and line it up with insight, and then you can save that. And the other token is undefined. So if you save that, if you try and run that again, it will, whatever you've got selected as your next player, will fill in that empty spot.
Okay, so you select the player that you're going to contest with, and then that's what fills the empty spot. Love it.
Yeah,
that's convenient.
So
great. Okay, anything else?
Some smaller stuff with little details, just in that if you've got a combat happening, and one of your characters is hidden, if you toggle off the hidden, it will show it on the combat bar.
Oh, nice.
So if you have a bunch of enemies that all arrive hidden, you don't have to take it off. You don't have to remove the invisibility in one spot and reveal them on the combat tracker. Little details will reveal them automatically for you.
So good. Well, are you ready to jump into enhanced journals?
Yes, yes,
All
I
right.
am. I know you were saying that you've only seen about like 10% of enhanced journals, and I'm like, I think I've forgotten like 10% of enhanced journals. It is by far the largest module that I developed.
So
Um,
what was your original vision for it, and then how has it sort of evolved since you've started doing it?
so the original vision, this is another one of those modules that came about because of something that I had added to my VTT. And basically, like, as I was running campaigns, I had the source book on another tab and a PDF file, and it was kind of hard to switch back and forth. And what I really wanted to do, because I'm on a computer, is to automate this stuff. I wanted my encounters to list, here are the enemies involved, here's any DCs that need to be rolled, any loot that you're going to get after it, the full description of what you should say, what the room looks like, any of the details on it, as well as being searchable. So essentially, like, it definitely came about because I wanted a digital encounter, a way to drop an encounter on the scene really quick and figure out like what was actually in that room. And so it kind of evolved from there. This is, as most of the modules are, this is way beyond what I had done in my own VTT. But the idea definitely was that you would have a bunch of tabs with all of the stuff open that is relevant to that encounter. So the specific journal entry, and then you could see every actor that was involved. So, if you've got a bunch of skeletons, then you have a tab for the skeleton on here. Or like an ancient black dragon.
Hmm. So
You can see,
so how did we get here? Did you just create a new journal entry?
well, I didn't create a new journal entry. I created a blank tab.
Yeah, but this screen that I'm looking at,
Oh,
what? How did you?
this is enhanced journal. So I right clicked on the
Aha.
journal icon up there.
Okay.
And it pops up. And it will pop up if you try and open up any of the journal entries, but the quickest way is to right click on that, and it will open up the last one that you were looking at. So, I
Okay.
mean, as you can see, it actually will show you, or keep track of your previous tabs.
Okay. Great.
Um, so you can actually prep before an encounter of, these are all the things that I want to look at before looking at that. So yeah, all I did was create a new tab, and then I dragged and dropped an actor onto it.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah, so
in these tabs, there's like different like templates for these.
yeah.
Is that a
Uh,
good way
let,
to describe it?
let's walk through the browser
Okay.
first, which is, so there's two major parts to Enhanced Journal. The browser, which you're looking at right now, and yeah, there's a bunch of extra sheets that get added to that show off a lot of different things. But the browser is the easiest place to start. So apart from the tabs at the top, you can also have the directory listing on the right. So it's all included.
Ah.
And that's added so that if you have the pop out module, you can pop out the enhanced journal and put this on your second screen if
Oh,
you got a
great.
second screen. With all of the bells and whistles that the usual journal directory has, with all the folders, you can create an entry from here, create a folder, all the rest of it. And you can hide it to get some more screen space if you want.
Great.
You can actually, if you let's say you frequent this quest a lot, there's a bookmark bar. So if you click the star, it will add that as a bookmark. So if you open up a brand new tab and click on that, it will open it up for you.
Wonderful.
So these are the things that, like, you look at all the time. You don't necessarily want a tab there all the time, but it's
Hmm.
a link that you visit consistently. Apart from that, it actually stores a history of stuff that you're viewing. So if I currently looking at a quest, decide to look at an encounter or an organization, and we'll get to these sheets in a second because there's a lot of them, you can actually go back in
Huh.
your history of what you were viewing. I mean, it's kind of like the look and feel of like an actual web browser, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It's great.
The other nice thing is down at the bottom. You can see in the folder structure that I've got a whole bunch of, and these are all for demonstrating the different sheets. But down on the bottom, it has forward and backwards, so you can actually navigate through that folder, which is nice if you've got like a scene and 10 different encounters on that scene. You can navigate through each of them. One of the things is showing to player. Instead of just putting the entry onto the player's computer, it'll show you what you're sending. You can actually, while you're showing it to your player, you can change the permissions to observer. So if they've discovered a page out of a book, you can pop it up on their screen, and they can now see that
in their
forevermore.
sidebar. Yeah.
On their sidebar, yeah. So if this is something they found, you can essentially hand it to them at the same time that you were showing to them on their screen. You can also specify individual players to show it to. And let's see if we can find a journal entry. So it has a description and a picture, although there's not a picture there. Let's drag and drop a picture onto it. Okay, so now that it's got a picture there.
Oh, cool.
You can choose to just show the picture.
Yeah.
Instead of showing the entire journal entry, you can pick and choose what you want to see. The other nice thing, show to all, is you can click here to cancel that. Because how many times have we been GMing where you accidentally sent something to the players and you're like, oh, crap, I didn't want to do that.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never made that mistake. Just kidding. What do the rest of those icons do up there?
The rest of the icons. So the pencil should be relatively obvious, straightforward. You can edit. And we should get into the editing because there's a lot of additions to the editing as well.
No kidding.
But also changes from editing to save. Add background effects. Let me go to a different one which would make more sense. So what the background sound effect will do is, apart from giving you this button, when this journal entry is opened, it will play a background sound. So if you have like a blacksmith shop, you can have the sound of a blacksmith. Or if you've got like a tavern or a marketplace, you can add a background sound for those kind of shops or locations. And they will automatically play. I mean, there are definitely their settings.
Okay, so it picks one file and it plays it on. Well, it can loop it, or it can just play it a single time.
Yeah.
So could I have the greeting of a shop owner's voice, and then it just stops after that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Great.
So autoplay, but you take the loop off, and it just says hello, and then that's it.
Cool.
Obviously, you can play it again by clicking on it. So if you just want the shop owner to keep saying hello to you, you can do that if you want. The other icons are you can convert. So you can actually, because the journal entries are just journal entries. So for the most part, you can convert one journal entry to a different one. It doesn't particularly matter. They all generally have a description. They all generally have a picture. So they, they will convert back and forth, but obviously with the data not the same.
Do you lose any of the meta information when you do that conversion process? Okay, it all stays there. If I converted it back, it would all come back again.
Yeah, it all stays in the background. We had this a couple times where people had all their stuff in a whole bunch of journal entries, and now that they see some of these new sheets, they're like, that's awesome, but I don't want to recreate it. And it was just easy enough to add that button to be like, here you go, here's your new one. The ones that don't convert are like the checklist, which doesn't have a picture, doesn't have text. It is just completely different from anything else. And the slideshow, which again, no text, a whole bunch of pictures. They're not, translate. There's nothing there to translate. The shop is one of the ones that you can drag and drop a player character. Well, you can drag and drop a character onto it to denote that this is the shop owner. Just in case the shop owner does actually have a token. And you can drag and drop that onto the canvas. Oh, something else I should mention is the...
Hey, by the way, if you drag it onto the canvas, is there any interaction associated with that merchant once they're on the canvas? Or no? I assume not, but...
No, it's just a token at this point. But if you want the shop to have a note, you can drag and drop the icon.
See, with this map that you're looking at, I want to put a journal entry on every single stall in the marketplace.
And if you click on it, it will open up the shop for you.
Cool.
So yeah, so this icon will appear on every one of the sheets, and you just have to drag it onto the canvas, and you've got a note icon. Enhanced journals will also try and customize the entry icon for you.
Okay.
So a shop will have the sign. If you've got, let me find another one that will do it. Place. So if you drag a place over here, it has the village icon.
Yeah.
It also puts the icon right behind it when you're selecting from this list.
Great.
Which is
so helpful.
Other awesome thing is clicking to add a custom image.
Oh wow, this module does that? It adds that ability?
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. It does it. So if you don't like any of those icons and you actually want your shopkeeper, you want their face to be on the icon there, you can.
By the way, for those who haven't checked it out, there's a free website for generating icons. It's gameicons.net, game-icons.net specifically. I use it all the time to add to my number of icons that I can use.
Another thing that I should note while I'm here, the module will also edit this dropdown to give you folders, because the core one just lists all of your journal entries.
Yeah.
It's and you're like,
unnavigable. Yeah.
Try and find something in that. So yeah, it adds the folders for you right here with the same folder structure that is in your journal sidebar. We're kind of going away from looking at the actual sheets, which I'm sure people are like, just get to the sheets. I want to know what these are. But some of the fun stuff, which I really like, it's kind of cool. If you set up a journal sheet and set up a list, you can click on a token dialog journal entry. Add that. Make sure that it's on, because I'm the GM. It's generally off for the GM. When you click on the token, it will run through that dialog.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Open that sheet up again. I need to see what the heck I'm looking at here.
Right?
Token text. Okay, so I create a sheet for any particular token.
Yeah.
Right? And then, or it can be for any token. So this could be like what vendors might say or something like that. Yeah. It could be generic. How fun.
Right? The nice thing is, if you have a bullet list, it will just randomly pick one of those. If you have a numbered list, it will go through those simultaneously. So if you have an NPC token that kind of has a conversation with you, like they're going to say one thing after the other, like, hey, what are you doing? Stop touching me, kind of thing. Yeah. If you have the numbered list, it will go in the sequence.
Great.
So, and that's one of those things that like nobody knows it's there, but I'm like, but it's awesome.
Right. So you made this is actually called a token text journal entry. Is that what this is? If somebody
this is just a regular journal entry.
So if
I just named it token
text. It's just a regular journal entry. Okay.
Yeah. Just a regular journal entry.
All you need to do is attach it to that token from that field, and you'll automatically go in and look for any bulleted lists and use those for. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Got it.
It has to be, the journal entry has to be just that list. If you add extra text at the beginning, it won't understand what you're trying to say. So the journal entry has to be just the list. The other nice thing, if you put one of those entries as a secret, it will only display for the person that clicked it. So if you have a player that clicks on an NPC that's supposed to say something, if it's a secret, they're the only ones that get to see that text.
Wow.
Actually, while we're here, why don't we talk about like the changes to this editor? I added the top bar, which basically it's always been there. I just turned it on because there's a lot of nice stuff that you can do. There's a lot of nice stuff that I would like to do that's not actually on this bar. And this kind of hooks into token bar, but you can request a role config. So if I want good, you can have a request role put in there. So when you click on it,
there you go.
Request role.
Fantastic.
So So it's amazing if you've got like journal entry describing an account or a room or something, and your players need to make some sort of a request roll.
Do it all the time.
You can add it. Yeah, you can add it straight to the journal entry. You can also edit the background
Of the journal entry.
of the journal entry.
Ooh.
So if you want a journal entry with a red background, you can do that.
I saw image in there too. I could imagine that would be.
Oh yeah, I have one journal entry that has like the background of a scroll. So if you've got like part of the text that you want to read aloud, that's kind of like it kind of looks like what D&D gives you
Okay.
when you want to read something aloud with like little banners at the sides and
Okay, yeah. It's
just
a new style option.
a new style option.
Right.
It adds a couple more fonts.
Oh, good.
Some of the other options is if you are in a regular journal entry, let's say, because I know a lot of journals come with all of the entries in it. It's a very large entry. What you can do is extract to new entry. So it removed that.
Is it going into one of those folders?
Oh, right,
Oh,
right there.
okay. So this is great. So you can take a long journal entry and really quickly split it up into its component pieces. Throw all those in a folder or wherever you want.
Yeah, exactly. It should go into the same folder that the original was in.
Oh, okay.
And if it had an appropriate header at the top, it would use that as the name. But the stuff that I selected didn't have an appropriate header. Yeah, so it's a nice way of sort of splitting up that document and getting into smaller little bits. If you are looking at the journal entry and want to find the actual, and this is way better if it's popped out, but clicking on that target icon will target where that note is on the map. So you can, if you drop the shop onto the map and you're like, where did I leave that shop?
Yeah, great.
Click target and you can
It moves you right
you
to
can go
it.
there. Yeah.
That's
I
going to be
think those are
helpful. When I turn every single stall on this map into an active working vendor, I'm going to need that feature.
and source description should be relatively straightforward. Let me demo it. So as you type, it'll find stuff and then highlight the text where it is.
So good. It's just searching that one entry, right?
Just searching the one entry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah. We should probably go through the different types of sheet that you can
Yeah,
make.
you know what? I think we should. There's one thing that we didn't do with little details that I think people find helpful, and that's if there's some global settings for this module that aren't sort of self-descriptive or intuitive.
Go through the settings.
Yeah, I know that sounds really mundane, but people like me really appreciate it. It's only if there's anything that's not intuitive when I look at it. Like, what does this actually mean?
So the top three, there's a lot going on, especially with the editing currency, and this comes into play with the shop and loot sheet, and I guess quests and encounters as well because they also have loot. One of the big issues I had with the shop is that there's not a universal way of describing currency in a system. So there's a lot of variation out there.
Yeah.
I did my best to kind of capture what I could, and then I just reverted to no, here's the interface. You can set up your own currency system.
Great.
But if you are running a system that doesn't have a currency in here, then you can change it, manually add it.
Great.
Code, try and keep it small, but this would be the code that your character sheet uses.
Okay.
So it is relevant in that the shop and the shop wouldn't know how to pull pull the currency from the character sheet, and I guess the loot wouldn't know how to add it to the character sheet if this code isn't correct. The name, this is the, what you're going to actually get to see, and the conversion rate. So gold is kind of the standard here at 0 because it doesn't convert. If you have something that is equal to it, but isn't the standard. You can set the conversion to 1. But 0 is basically saying this is the default currency that will get used. And shops will use that. A shop, I guess, and Loot Sheet will use it for if you drop an item onto the shop or loot and it has a number, but it doesn't have a currency, then it will try and convert to that. If you leave it blank, then this is one that will get removed from any of the auto-generating currency. So if you are trying to make change, this is not a currency that will be used when making change. And that's kind of like people know my feelings on Electrum. So it's been pulled off so that if you're splitting up gold, it goes to silver rather than going to Electrum.
So I can put Bitcoin in here too if I wanted to.
Yes.
Great. Perfect.
Or send Bitcoin my way. Either way. So editing person attributes. So we have a person sheet and a place sheet. They have a whole bunch of attributes that can be added to them. So this allows people to edit which ones they want to see and which ones are there. So this would be the code. The code is only used by enhanced journals, so you can make whatever you want. This is the name. These look a little weird because they're internal strings that I use. So if you have internal strings and know what that means, feel free to use it because enhanced journal will translate for you. Otherwise, just replace this with some text. Hidden means you don't want to see it. Paragraph, I'll show you what this means in a bit, but there's a difference between like a small field and a large paragraph field.
Okay, yeah. It's like a comment field versus just a regular short text string.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. And you can grab the slider at the side to reorder them.
And sorry, Monk, where are these attributes showing up at? Or are you going to show me an example?
Yeah, so the person sheet. So description, everybody's got a description. The second tab over is details. These would be the ones that we were editing right there. Okay. And this is the difference between, this is a small field, these are paragraph fields.
So that screen was really about what do I want to see in my people and places journal entries.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
Other settings of note allow players. They'll still be able to get the journal sheets, all the new ones that I've added. They'll be able to see it just fine, but they won't be able to use the tabs or the bookmark bar.
Okay.
And let me show you the quest. So quest, you can add objectives to it. So if your quest isn't something that's like really simple, if there are parts to that quest, you can add objectives. And you can turn it off here just in case you're in a system or you're running a world where you don't have that many objectives. Your quests are the things that are the things.
Yeah.
Display the quests when the note tool is active. I think it's just popped up a couple of times. But if you're on the notes tool, then it will pop up a list of objectives or quests that you are currently trying to do. So your players can see what they have left to do.
Right.
So another thing that enhanced journals will do is if you change the permissions of one of the journal sheets, let's say to observer, it will pop up a little icon on the sidebar.
Oh, so good.
So
yeah,
so that you know who is able to view that sheet.
Right.
So you can also set it so that if it's only available for one player, then it will show you that player 2 has observer level on that, or everyone has observer level on that.
This should be in the core.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things that I was thinking, because a lot of the times you don't really know what your player is looking at or what they know, or if you forgot to let them know that that parchment sheet that they just found, you forgot to give them permissions on it, and you don't realize that they can't actually see that.
Yeah.
Note HUD permission. So part of the note now is enhanced journal will give it a heads up display like all the other things in here. I'll show you what some of the other ones do, but every one of them has the toggle visibility state. So you can turn on and you can see in the bar over here.
Okay. So it
That,
gives them permission and makes it visible so they can see it on the
yeah,
map and interact with it.
yeah. So the HUD permission, for the most part, this should give players limited visibility so that they can see it on the map. If you check this, then they get observer permission, which will show it on the sidebar as well.
Okay. Great.
Hide inline links is a good one. So these inline links over here, if the player doesn't actually know about this journal entry or doesn't have permission to actually view it,
Oh,
it will hide that link.
that's smart.
And a lot of people were using it. They had a journal entry with a whole bunch of entries in it that they would gradually turn on as their players explored various regions.
Oh,
Use system tag. I can't really explain this one.
I just
Um,
love the text here. This can either solve some issues or break the sheet.
yeah,
It's,
yeah,
use it
yeah,
your own.
and that's pretty much I can't really describe what it does, other than if the page just looks really weird, try clicking this on. It will either clear everything up, or yeah, it'll be
Great.
it'll be worse. The usual for loot. So if you're picking up loot, creating loot from like an encounter or from
Hmm.
a quest, I don't have the other ones installed. It does support item piles, merchant sheet, and loot sheet.
Okay. So it'll
So
detect
you
if
can,
those are installed and active and give you those as
yeah,
options in the dropdown.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Shall we go through some sheets?
We should go through some sheets. Yeah, let's get into the meat here. How do we use
Nitty
these
gritty.
things?
Okay, so a checklist sheet. This is mostly for GMs to keep track of like where their players are, what their players have done. Encounter. This is the one that kind of started it all. You have your description, which should describe, what your encounter does. You can set up your monsters.
Ooh, with some
Which
ability to roll numbers. Good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So drag and drop to add them here.
Hmm.
You can also specify that when they start the encounter, they start hidden. You can also populate it from a roll table. So if you've got like random encounters, you can drag and drop them individually to the canvas. You can also drag the entire encounter over there. We only rolled one skeleton.
Wait, how'd you do
Um,
that? How'd you drag the whole encounter there?
oh,
Oh,
the little
that thing.
fist.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Which another one of these is kind of hidden over here,
Hmm.
but I couldn't think of a better way to add it.
Sure.
Because it's got to be something that you drag and drop. Another nice feature is once you started an encounter, you can select all those encounters or
Oh,
all the creatures from this encounter
okay. Yeah.
that have been dropped there. Sorry, I should have pointed out that the two options are the first one, the fist, means drag it to the canvas and start a combat. The second one, it just drags it to the canvas, but does not start a combat. So you can
Okay.
see over here, the skeleton and
The
the
acolyte.
acolyte have both been added.
Great.
And as specified, the acolyte is starting invisible. If you drag the encounter note over here,
Hmm.
it comes up as a sword, but you can right click on it and it's got the same
Oh,
icons. So you can select the monsters, you can start the combat. If the encounter is finished, you can basically collect the loot from it,
cool.
which is over here. So you can drag and drop over here. It'll let you know if those items have been assigned. So, if you've got an encounter with a bunch of loot, but your character is picking through it, you might want to keep track of which ones they have picked up and which ones they haven't picked them
And
up.
so, what's the workflow for the loot when they get to the loot? Do you make, well, let's see, do you drag the loot sheet to the menu or like what would you do? Like you finish combat.
Click on the button.
Do you let players dive in and start picking through the spoils
You
or what?
click on the button.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it's grayed out
Yep.
because they have been assigned, and it's been assigned to loot entry 2. So you can see the loot has arrived, and these are the players that were involved.
Okay. They were active in the scene during the combat. Okay.
Yep. They were active. So, and you can see up here
Mm-hmm.
with configuring permissions, player 2 and player 3. And you can also see over here, everybody's got observer. that they now have access to the loot sheet.
Okay.
So they would be able to come over here, click on the loot, see if they've got loot down here.
How do they plunder this?
But there's so much interaction here that I'm like, you just branch off to everything. But yeah, there is just so much interaction between all of the sheets. But going back to the encounter, because there's more encounter, and I will get to the loot sheet because the loot
I'm
sheet
getting
is
ahead
really
of ourselves. Okay,
yeah,
keep going.
yeah, we're getting ahead. So you can set up a DC for this encounter. So if there's a trap in this room, you can see what your players need to roll. And notes, because this is the first sheet that we have this. These are notes that are only viewable to the player that is looking at this journal sheet. So as a GM, I can type whatever I want in this. The players won't be able to see it.
Okay.
Any of the players, if they type something in there, nobody else gets to see it but them.
Huh. Okay.
So it's on most of the journal entries. It's a nice way of, if you want to keep your own notes on
Sure.
this that are private from anybody else.
Yeah.
Great. Then it's here. So your options for loot are GM only, means that the players can see it, but they can't do anything about it. It is up to the GM to drag and drop that. And the fun thing is, on the loot page, you can drag and drop onto the character. So you don't have to find it on the sidebar.
Oh yeah.
Figure out where the player is. Like, these are your characters that were involved in the battle. You can just drag and drop onto them.
Wonderful.
One of the other nice things is if there's a quantity, it will pop up the quantity dialog box to be like, how many of these do you want to transfer? And if you double click on that, you can.
So easy.
There you go. So the other options are anyone, which means you are just letting your players do whatever they want. If they grab it, they grab it. Tough luck for anybody else who is trying to grab that. Confirm receipt will put up a button for the player that they can click on it, and basically says to the GM, hey, I would like this.
Okay, you approve it once they've requested to get it.
Yeah. So switching over to the player screen, they have access to Loot Enter 2, and you can see the stuff that's there. If they click on the take item, then it puts a chat message between the game master and that player that this person from this loot wants to take the abacus. And if you swing back to the GM, it shows you that
slick,
and you can accept that or reject that.
So to create this loot sheet, you just created a new journal entry, specifically a loot sheet type of entry, right? I assume. And then
if you are in the encounter in the loot, clicking on the button will create it for you.
I see. Okay, so I can create an encounter sheet, and then that has these sub sheets in it that I can create, which will create another journal entry for that loot sheet, but it'll associate it automatically with this encounter. Am I getting that right?
Sort of. I mean, it won't associate it with this encounter. It basically, clicking on this button takes all of this stuff in your encounter sheet and says, cool, make a new loot sheet and dump all this stuff in.
I see. Okay.
And that's how the loot sheet works. Again, merchant sheet, the actual loot sheet module, it'll handle it that way that they do it. And same with item piles. So it will work with whatever module you set it up to work with. This is just how Enhanced Journals does it. If you have currency to distribute, you can click on the distribute button. It will show you how much currency there is, and you can split, and it will try and split it evenly. Okay, organization, pretty simple. This is sort of meant to be any organization in your world. So description, and I think this is the first sheet that we have, which has relationships. And relationships basically mean that this organization relates to other journal sheets. So right here, I've got it set up. So this is like the leader of the organization. And if you click on it, it will take you over to the person sheet. Offerings, this is brand new. What this means is if you have like a church that you want your players to give an offering
tithe
to,
to, or
a tithe to,
yeah.
or if you're trying to bribe the local council or a thieves guild, you can do that here. Same if you go to the person sheet also has offerings. So if you want your players to bribe a specific person, they can do or an offering. You
How
know,
do I add an offering? Is it that button to the right?
yeah.
Ah, great.
And your players would
Oh, I can even give items. Cool.
so items or gold. Right now, there's no actor because I'm the GM, so it doesn't know which actor. I can because I'm the GM. I can drag and drop. So this is going to come from the Elf Ranger. You can tell it to be a private offer, so this is just going to be between that player and the GM, what they want to do. You can make an offering, so it'll show you the GM, who made it, what the items were, what the state of it was, so you can accept that offer, you can reject that offer, or you can hide or show that offering from the other players,
I see.
or just remove it.
Do those details translate directly to the character sheet?
No.
Race, age?
Um, I tried to. There's just so much inconsistency between systems and how they store those kind of values. And I also felt like who's the sheet of record for that? Is, when you drop the character, should the character be controlling that, or should the journal sheet be controlling that?
I got it. Okay, so even though I have an actor on the right, and that's really, is that the link to my official actor sheet for
Yeah.
that character? Okay.
Yeah.
The journal entry is where their story and all the
Yeah.
information about them exists. Okay,
Exactly.
that's great.
And for the most part, the person sheet is for those people that really don't have a token. They're like the shop owners, the tavern
Yeah, we're
barkeeps
just
that,
using their default values anyway. There's not even a reason to
yeah,
have a
yeah, exactly.
armor class on these guys. Yeah,
You can also, on the sheet itself,
show
set
and hide.
specifically what this sheet wants to see. Quest, same thing, description. Oh, we should start here. So the source, you can specify what the source of this quest was with, like the city council asked you to do this,
Yeah,
or
what kicked it
um,
off?
and objectives are if you've got like little sub quests.
Yeah,
What you can do for this, there's a name, whether it's available, whether it has been completed, and the counter is if you need to, like, collect 5 stones.
yeah,
Once it's completed, it'll have a checkbox and a line through it to show you that, yeah, they're done with that.
yeah.
So rewards, you can have multiple rewards. Basically, like one reward if they complete it successfully, one reward if they fail it. The test shop. This is kind of the complicated one. You can tell like what the shop type is, where it's located. Player purchasing. So you can set whether the shop is closed. Closed hidden, so like the players can't see it. It's closed but visible, so they will be able to see this journal entry. They'll be able to go into the shop, but they won't be able to see the items because currently the shop is closed. They can't actually get into it.
When you say see it as a map pin or as a journal
Oh,
entry
as
on theirs?
a journal entry.
Okay, so they'll see it in
Um,
their sidebar or it'll be
yeah,
hidden. Great.
yeah. So they can read the description, see their notes on it. They just won't be able to make a purchase.
Okay.
When the shop is open, you can set it to open so that, and this is very similar to the loot sheet, so that only the GM can handle all this stuff. Anybody can make a purchase. So like at any time, somebody can step in and grab an item, or they have to request a purchase. Very similar to the loot sheet, where they click on it, it goes to the GM to click accept.
Can this work asynchronously? Like they're logged in and I'm not anywhere near the world, and then I log in later and approve it, or do I have to? We all have to be logged in when it's transacting.
The GM has to be logged in for this to work, just because there's a lot of things that get changed that the players don't have access to.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But if it's set to anyone, then you as a GM can basically set this shop as open, go for it. If you need to close it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can open it. If you need to close it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can close it. If you need to open it, you can cl walk away, get for a bathroom break, get some water, and they can purchase to their heart's content, whatever's in the store. If it's request purchase, then you're going to come back to a whole bunch of chat messages that you need to accept, but it'll be there.
Just saved a bunch of time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Player selling, this is whether the shop will buy from the players. And you can say that it won't purchase anything from the players, i.e. the players can't drop anything on them. Anybody can do it at any time, or make an offer, which will pop up a very similar chat message to this, where you can kind of negotiate a price before you accept.
Cool.
So other things to note, which I'm not sure if I got to this or not, but if you're filling items from a roll table, so it'll show you all the roll tables, and I've got roll tables coming in from the compendiums. You can specify the number of items that you want in. So like I only want to draw on like 5 items into the shop.
Yep.
By the way, you can also do dice rolls.
Yeah.
But if you're bringing in 5 items, you can also specify the quantity of those items. So if I want like 1d4 of each of these 5 items, I can specify that. Clear items, so you can clear out the shop or the loot sheet before repopulating.
Can I use multiple roll tables to populate?
Well, I would use like one roll table, clear it out, and then populate again from a different roll table. And again, if you don't check the clear items, then it will just keep adding.
Well, that's what I mean. So, like, what if I have like a weapon roll table, a potion roll table, and something else? I can use all 3 of those to assemble my inventory.
Yeah, exactly. So long as you don't clear out the items, so long as you don't check that box, it'll just keep adding.
So clear items will just clear everything that's in the inventory and start new. Yeah. Great.
So the one drop down to note is if it selects duplicate items from that roll table. What do you want it to happen?
I don't want another 6 potions added here. We'll just not add them.
Yeah, exactly. So you can either have it increase the quantity, add an additional one, so like there will be another item entry added, or just do nothing.
Yeah.
Like if
skip it.
Too bad, so sad. We wanted 5 items, but we only got 4 because one of them doubled up.
Yeah, we don't want 2 Stonky's rings in one magic shop.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care what happens. Yeah.
You can in the shop lock the item. So this is an item that the players will be able to see, but they will not be able to purchase.
Oh.
And generally, if the shop,
that's a tease.
Oh yeah, you can hide and show. So that the players will see or not see.
So I can preload some higher level magical equipment here and maybe show that later as I want to.
In the shop, you can change what the buy and sell rate are. So right now the sell rate is 1, but you can set that to 2 and then convert the shop, which means the price of the item is 10 gold. This shop is going to sell it for 20 gold.
Got it.
Or 2 times. And they'll buy back at half the cost.
Yeah.
So another thing also to note, the quantity in a shop. You can either set this to, like a number that the item has, or the shop has 5 of this item. If you blank that out, you can set it so the shop has an infinite number of that item. One of the really cool things that I worked on is the slideshow. This basically will show a slideshow to your players. If you want a cut screen, if you want them to leaf through a book, this will do it.
Cool.
You can set it so that it will show as just the canvas, so they'll still have access to the sidebar, they'll still have access to their token, the menu bars. They can still, do things while this is going on. You can set it to full screen, which means it covers everything. The players are watching this. That's what they're doing. Or you can have it so it's in a window that they can drag around. You can set it so that the slideshow will continually loop, which is great. So if you are having a bathroom break, you can easily set something that's like full screen, loop through a series of images with some music playing in the background. Canvas color is used for some of the transitions between slides. So what the color is going to be shown in the background.
Okay.
You can get an audio file that plays throughout the entire slideshow. Set it to loop, set the volume,
I can't
and
choose
then
a playlist, right?
no,
Yeah.
no, it's a very specific. It's an audio file, not a playlist. Although, if anybody wants me to use a playlist, let me know, and I'll add that my ever
List
growing
of
and shrinking
demands.
list of things to do.
Right.
So the transition effect. So there's a bunch of different transitions that you can have going between slides. Um, I'm not going to go through all of them because there's a lot. The one nice one which I will highlight is the page turn, which makes it look like you're flipping a page in a book, which a lot of people are using to kind of,
Wait,
like a once
so
upon a time.
yeah, so Monk, could I build using this in like active tiles? Could I build like a landing page and have my players have like, the ability to interact on that page? And when they click on the book, it would open this a specific slideshow
Yep,
for the book turning.
yep.
Cool.
And the nice thing is, this is the interface that the GM gets to see.
Hmm.
If the player opens up a slideshow that you've given them access to, it will immediately start the slideshow for them.
Great.
So so they don't get into like the details of editing it.
Hmm.
They can see it. So yeah, if you want to give your players a book, then set a whole bunch of pages, set the effect as a page turn, and give them permission to see it. And basically they get their own personal look at the book.
And they can navigate left and right,
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are all the slides. I've just added some images that I could find there. They're not
Hmm.
great for a slideshow, but they'll do. So the big plus button will add a new one, but let's go into one that has something. So double click. You can set the slide image. You can
Hmm.
set whether your slide image is going to contain the entire image.
Hmm.
So this is where the background color comes in. So it contains that image, or the image should completely cover the slide, or you want that image to stretch to fit the area that it's got. For this specific slide, you can set audio file. So when this slide starts to play, this is the sound that happens. I would reserve this for sound effects rather than
Oh, okay.
actual sound files, but
Will it
um,
override or play? It'll play right on top of the
it'll
existing.
play on top.
Okay.
Yeah, which is why, yeah, I say leave it for sound effects because you'll get both of them playing at the same time.
Right. Chaotic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you also can set the transition. Oh, I gotta fix that. Um, you can also set the transition for individual slides.
Mm,
They can either inherit it from the slideshow or they can set their own.
great.
And the same with the slide duration. Something that I should point out, if the slide duration is 0, that means that you have to click on that slide to move to the next one. So this is what you would do if you're giving them a storybook.
Yeah.
Set the slide duration to 0, and then it's kind of manual movement. If you set a specific value, then that's the number of seconds that it's going to show before moving on to the next one.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So down here is going to show you, like, this is what the slide looks like. You can drag and drop text on here.
Hmm. So giving it a caption is real easy.
Yep. Yeah. And if you double click, you can see all the stuff, like where the slide is. The cool thing is that you can have it fade in,
Hmm.
and the duration that text will be on the screen. So you can have various blocks of text fade in and fade out
Ah, cool.
um, over the course of that slide being visible. And if you hit the play button, um, then there you go. You can see the text appearing. And if I swing over to the player screen and close all of the journal entries that have been open, you can see the
Oh,
slideshow
great.
has started.
What a great tool.
So that's that. I think that's all of the sheets. Other little things, which are kind of cool. If you configure the sheet or the scene, I should
Hmm.
say, and add. And by the way, I've replaced the drop down in here as well
Oh
with one
yeah.
with folders.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Great.
But if you replace the journal entry with a slideshow, it will detect when it's a slideshow. And when you activate that scene, it will immediately begin that slideshow.
Huh.
So if you want a transition to another scene, you can use a slideshow to you're walking through the woods and suddenly, um, yeah, so you
Yeah,
can
you come
automatically
upon
use that.
this tomb and you've got the picture of the tomb there, and then they can click into that, and then the scene would come up. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Great.
If you want a journal entry outside of the browser, you can easily take the tab, drag it out,
Hmm.
and it will open in its own entry.
Great.
If you have a link and you hold down Alt, it'll
Mm-hmm.
open in a new
Ah.
sheet. If you hold down Control, it'll open in a new tab.
So interesting. So, Monk, what's your workflow when you're prepping for a game and you're going to use enhanced journal? How do you sort of approach setup?
Just pure chaos, mostly. Mostly, I would set out the encounters because that's generally the things that the players notice first, and it
Yeah.
makes my life a lot easier.
Yeah. And those encounters would
Um,
all be tabs here in my browser.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And set up the monsters, the loots, and the DCs because this is
Mm-hmm.
all stuff that makes my life easier,
Yeah. Everyone wants
and
this to be
quicker.
set up beforehand. It's too
Yeah,
chaotic to try to do it on the fly. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's about it. If my world is definitely more complex than just a one shot, and there's actually
Mm-hmm.
places and people, then I will start gradually adding
Yeah,
those things.
grab
And
that journal entry on the city that they're about to walk into for the first time. That becomes a tab, or you split that
yeah,
up into a few ones using that tool that you've got there.
yeah,
Yep. So this
um,
browser ends up being the container for all the active stuff that you plan or think you might end up using for that session.
yeah,
Yep. Great.
yeah, pretty much. If you keep everything contained in folders, then it's relative. Like, and I generally keep things contained in folders by like place or
Mm-hmm.
area, just to make it easy to figure out what I'm looking at and
Sure.
what I need to look at quickly.
Sure. Yeah. And if you're
Uh,
working
I,
on two screens and you're using pop out, this sounds like, I mean, this is the main screen that you've got up on that
yeah,
other. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And the fact that you can also load actors in this just makes
Mm,
life easier as well
yeah.
because now you can see your skeleton, your
Yeah.
hopefully not your ancient black dragon, but hey, um, if that's what you're dropping on your party, it just makes life easier to have everything there on a tab.
Yeah.
Um, and you don't have to hunt around for it to figure out like when you're running an encounter, where are all these details? Like how many attacks does the
Yeah.
dragon get? What are the skeletons' resistance?
Yeah.
And then once the encounter is over, just dealing with all the items
Yeah.
and
All the
eh, eh,
resolution of the battle.
yeah,
Yeah. I love it.
yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Cool. Yeah. So one of the other things that I wanted to note, so if you change this to picture, then instead of linking it to the journal entry,
Oh,
it will link it straight to the picture.
okay. That's a
Um,
hidden feature.
it's a hidden feature, but it would show
If there's a picture,
this
it
image.
would try to show it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I
great.
think I
Well,
think
Monk,
that's about it. I think we've
that's
covered everything.
we got through a lot, and that I mean that is really the full arc of what this thing does. I will remind everyone that you are really busy with developing all the time new features. So if anybody opens up enhanced journal and starts going through it, and you see stuff that you don't recognize from the video, that's why. It's because
Oh yeah.
Monk's hard at work all the time making these things better. So I recommend in the description for the video for everyone to go check out Monk's Discord. Sorry that it's already blowing your Discord up, Monk, but it's such a lively crew in there. I don't mind throwing a bunch of other
Oh, it's
crazy folk in there. But
yeah.
but
It's all good. It's good.
that's a really great community. That's always been super helpful
Yeah.
to me in like throwing a question out. Hey, does this do this, or how do I make this happen, or whatever. And there's a lot of creativity there that usually swoops
Yeah.
in for the rescue.
Yeah, well, a definite shout out to the moderators. I've got like an amazing team who have definitely, like, with the increase in traffic, have definitely stepped up.
Keeping
They're
busy.
awesome.
Good. They are.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Monk, this was awesome. Thanks for walking us through this. Thanks for this series. I think just like to get to know you and who you are, and
Hey.
been a fixture in this community, and you've been great to work with. But hopefully this helps everybody get to know you a little bit more, and certainly get to know these modules a little bit more. I feel like I'm going to do all of my prep for my next game with enhanced journals. So I feel like I'm ready to do that now. So
Yay.
thanks for
Yeah.
bearing with me as I learn all this, because I'm sure everyone else would have had the same questions, and hopefully we're all on the same page and we can bug you with smarter questions on your Discord than we were, a day earlier.
Yeah. Well, and it's definitely like I said, it is the one of the largest modules that I've coded. It just does so much stuff. So it's nice to kind of have a chance to talk about it.
Well, Monk, thanks again. This was awesome.
Well, thank you.
Everyone, if anyone has questions, leave comments on the video. Monk may not monitor all those comments because it's not his YouTube channel. He may not see all of it. And so, again, I recommend if you have a request or something like that, his Discord's also linked there. And this was exactly what I was hoping for. Thanks again for making all this stuff and for walking us through it.
Well, thank you for having me for an interview.
Anytime. All right. Well, we'll talk soon. Have a good night.
Cool. You too.
All right. Cheers.